some raindrops. So this might be the best time to do this Wilderness Wednesday. Hey, welcome back for another Wilderness Wednesday. I'm Joe Bassett from Valiant Outfitters. I've talked many times about how I use my tarp for my hammock setup. This is my basic hammock setup. Run a ridgeline for the tarp. I have my hammock set up with straps to either side. This is kind of an A-frame. I'm flying an A-frame just to get some cross breeze. I've put the top up on this side that's kind of flat, and then it angles down at the bottom. Of course, if it starts raining, I'm going to take this part and I'm going to drop it down so it's a true flying A-frame, because this, where it's kind of gathered in here, that's just waiting to pool water, and that's a disaster waiting to happen. Right now, with it still being sunny and only a few drops coming around, I'm okay. But rain would pool in that, and then that would collapse it all on me. So if it starts to rain, particularly heavy rain, I'm going to drop that down and make this a true flying A-frame. Let me take this apart. I'm going to show you my principles, my approach to putting up a hammock. There are a lot of questions about how to do it. How high should the straps be? What should the angle be? People get out there with their protractors and their measuring tools and they figure out what angle everything is at. It's not that complex. I'll show you my secrets here. I'm going to look for two trees. I want them at least 15 feet apart. These are almost exactly 15 feet, maybe closer to 16 feet. A little bit further is sometimes helpful. I use straps and I have my hammock. I strongly encourage straps. In fact, I insist on straps. I always order or use extra long straps. That just gives me more flexibility, and it also gives me some drip cord that I'll show to you in a little bit. But I find those trees, I'm going to look, make sure I don't have any widowmakers. I've set up where there's a pretty nice cross breeze even here in Florida this time of year. The ground is a little bit wet here because, again, it's Florida. We had some pretty big storms yesterday. We'll probably get more storms today. And this is one of the reasons why I like hammock camping, is it keeps me up off of that wet ground. Also, when I'm backpacking, I still take the extra weight of a hammock with me, because when I'm out and hiking and I want to take that break in the middle of the day, I can just throw my hammock up between trees and relax in that. I know it's a little extra weight, but that's kind of the one luxury I afford myself, even when I'm tent camping. When I'm looking for trees to suspend my hammock, I want them at least 15 feet apart, and also I want the diameter to be at least a fist and a half, 2 fists. That's really all I need. I put my straps at about eye level. Now, if you're a little shorter, a little taller, you might want to adjust that a bit, but this is a good starting range. You take your strap, it's going to have a loop in one side and then several adjustable points along the other. Right at about eye level, feed that through, and that one's ready to go. So here's the other tree. This one's about 2 fists in diameter, so I'm good on that. Take my strap, eye level, feed it through that loop at the end, and I'm set to go. Some people say to put the strap a little bit higher on one tree than it is in the other, so that you can have your head or you can have your feet elevated a little bit. Some people like to sleep different ways. They're more comfortable with one elevated and the other not. I put them so that the straps, if they were to run across, they'd be parallel to each other. Then I can adjust using these adjustment points if I want one a little bit higher or a little bit lower. I can also do that while laying in the hammock. I can reorient my body and have my head a little bit higher if I like it. So here our straps are ready to go. Let's hang the hammock. When I first hang the hammock, I'm going to leave it in the stuff sack, and I'll usually go to just the first or second tie-out point. Clip it on there. So there we have that. I'm going to walk to the other side and hook up the other end. Here we are at the other end. I'm going to take my clip, and this one I'm going to put into the first point because that seems to be pretty much the tension that I want for my hammock. Here's the ridge line. I have it stored for a quick deploy. I have some prusik knots already on there. I already have an overhand loop there in the end. Now when I run my ridge line, I like to have it up pretty high. So here's my strap for my hammock. I'm going to reach up, not quite as far as I can reach, but pretty close, and I'm going to wrap it around. And let's feed it through that end loop, and we'll run it to the other side. So I've run my ridge line across at about as high as I can reach. Going to use a taut line hitch. I leave this hanging down here because this provides a drip line for me. Water can accumulate up here in my paracord on my ridgeline, and then it can start to wick and seep down underneath my tarp. Well, this will help stop that so that the water will hit here and then it will drip down or it will wick down on this piece of paracord hanging down. So here's the other prusik knot. I've run the loop through and I pull my toggle through, dress it out with that prusik knot. It's nice and secure. The end of my hammock is nice and dry inside of this part of the tarp. And I have this other prusik knot that's here that I might use in a different setup, but this time that's going to act as my drip line on this side, so that if that water starts to wick down the paracord, it's going to drip here and not inside of the hammock. Let's take out the four corners and finish this up. Here we are on the reverse side of my tarp with the hammock hanging underneath it. I brought stakes with me. I always carry 6 stakes. Just some of these inexpensive lightweight stakes that you can get at a big box store, get them on Amazon. I only need 2 for this setup. I carry 6 because I might want to do different configurations. If I don't have them with me, of course, I can use my knife skills to whittle up some stakes. But we're going to do the back of this as if we're doing an A-frame. But the other side, we're going to put out flat so that we get a nice cross breeze. If it was raining, I would go ahead and do this side in a traditional flown A-frame as well, but because the sun's come back out after a few showers, I'm going to raise that up so it makes sort of an awning from the back of the A-frame coming towards the front and tie it off to some trees. As usual, at those tie-off points, I've used a taut line hitch because I want those to be dynamic. I want to be able to tighten and loosen them. Of course, if it starts to rain, this part is going to create a problem for me if I leave it in this configuration. Water is going to pool there, and it's going to keep getting weighted down further and further. So if it starts to rain, I just drop those down in traditional A-frame, and that water sheds off just fine to either side. You can see the advantage here of why I run that ridge line up so high. I can stand under here and work. This is a 3 meter by 3 meter, or essentially a 9 by 9 foot tarp. Plenty of room under here for my gear to work. Very comfortable. Still have a lot of cross breeze, but also have the shade. Laying diagonally, I flattened out that hammock. I can scoot up this way a little bit if I want my head to be a little bit above my feet. Get outside, enjoy the outdoors. If you like this video, if it's been helpful, please click the like button, subscribe. Every Wednesday, we get out another tip for you in the wilderness. Thanks for joining me again. This is Joe Bassett for Valiant Outfitters.